Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Professor Ming's Strategic Insights. Now that President Trump has returned to the White House for more than 2 months, he has issued a good number of executive orders, executive directives, and he has adopted many new policies. Although only a small portion of them are directly targeting at Beijing or at Communist China, but that has led Beijing to develop concern, actually grave concern, very grave concern of what may happen in the future. In Beijing's eyes, Trump is unfriendly or possibly hostile toward Beijing. That can be determined by what Trump has done in his first term when he was in the White House. Well, just to sum it up very briefly, Trump has adopted many policies toward Beijing or against Beijing in his first term. First thing is, of course, the tariff war or the trade war. It began in 2018 and led to a long period of negotiation process along the way between the two capitals. It ended up in an agreement, but Beijing knows that even after 4 years, actually 7 years, 3 years in Trump's first term and 3 years in Biden's term, and then now at the beginning of the Trump's second term, Beijing has fulfilled only 58% of what it promised to do or to buy from the United States in that agreement. So Trump is very upset about it and may take it against Beijing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is COVID-19. Beijing suspects that Trump will take COVID-19 as something against Beijing because in their eyes or in their mind, Trump thinks that this COVID-19 originated from the Wuhan Virology Institute. As for the question of how it leaks to the outside world, whether it's intentional or is it accidental, it doesn't matter because Beijing concealed the information and kept it away from the entire world until that is spread all over the world. And that cost Trump the first term, so Trump was not happy about it. And although Trump talked about taking Beijing accountable for it and talking about seeking for redemption, things like that, but that really did not come true in his first term. But Beijing suspects that Trump will pursue this issue on his second term, and that's the second thing. The third thing is the Huawei mobile phone, and Trump was the president that put a sanction on it, on the parts supporting Huawei mobile phone. And then the Hong Kong issue. Trump eventually put out the so-called Hong Kong Autonomous Act against Beijing and putting sanctions on some related officials in Hong Kong and also in Beijing. And the next thing is the Belt Road Initiative. They had much confrontational quarrels over the issue. It ended up that the United States joined hands with some European countries to put out their own countermeasures. Although they did not really work out very well, but the effort was made, at least initiatively. And then next thing is the confrontation over South China Sea, the reefs, and then over the Philippines. Communist China has promised the American president, saying that we will not build these reefs into islands, and we will not militarize them. But then Beijing ate his own words. They built deep water harbors, and they built a long-range runway for the jet fighters. They have anti-air missile, and then they have radar system and all kinds of things. So it's fully militarized. And Beijing seems to have the intention of putting this whole South China Sea into its own territorial water and prohibiting other countries from passing through. So that really antagonized not only the United States, but the almost entire Western world, especially over Fury Cross Reef and the Mischief Reef and then the Subi Reef. So that's a very controversial issue. And the last but not the least important issue is they're wrestling over the Taiwan issue. Let's not get into details. Anyway, they fight over Taiwan fiercely. So in the eyes of Beijing, Trump is not only unfriendly toward Beijing, but maybe hostile toward Beijing. And he's one that altered the United States policy toward China completely, almost 180-degree change from a more cooperative and more coordinated direction to a more competitive or even a confrontational direction. So that's Beijing's analysis of Trump's attitude toward Beijing, at least for the first term. So to sum it up, in Beijing's eyes, Trump is unfriendly and even hostile toward Beijing. That can be seen from how he handles the trade war, technological war, and how he revised the United States policy toward China. And it's a confrontation between two systems, or it's a confrontation between two value systems, not only in their eyes, but also they realize that in the eyes of Trump's. So that's serious. As for the second term, Trump's second term, he has, and like I said, he has re-entered the White House for more than 2 months, although he hasn't done much against Beijing, but Beijing has observed some ominous signs or inauspicious signs, and that's bad for them. The first thing is Trump's pick of his cabinet, starting from his Vice President Vance, and then Secretary of State Rubio, National Security Advisor Waltz, Secretary of Defense Hegseth, and CIA Director Ratcliffe, and then even Treasury Secretary Bassett. All of them seem to be unfriendly toward China, or Communist China, or even hostile toward Beijing. So Beijing is quite concerned about it. And Beijing also remembered that back in April the 13th, when President Xi Jinping was visiting White House for a state visit, and Trump took him to the state dinner. And then when they were having the dessert, Trump told Xi Jinping, saying that he just launched 59 Tomahawk missiles against Syria. And the political protege of Beijing's. And Trump told the news media, saying that upon hearing this information, Xi Jinping paused for at least 10 seconds before he could simply replied, "Oh, that's okay." So Trump said he respected me. Actually, it's a polite way to say he's afraid of me. And the next thing happened in May 2024, when Trump was conducting his campaign for the presidential race. It is reported that Trump responded by saying that should Beijing invaded Taiwan during his tenure, he'll bombard Beijing as a response. Although it's kind of a emotional expression, nobody would take it seriously. Beijing was furious, and Beijing issued an official protest against the statement. Beijing also realizes that in Trump's mind, his political or strategic ordering, Communist China or Beijing is much dangerous than Moscow or than Russia. So it leads to Trump's decision that he will put an end to the Ukraine war and then refocus his attention to Beijing, or even reallocate his national capability to deal with Beijing and to protect Taiwan. And they know about it. And currently they notice that Trump hasn't done very much directly targeting Beijing at the moment, except for tariffs. So Trump is actually beating around the bush. If he wants to deal with Beijing, or if you think that he's dealing with Beijing, some people are very anxious to see Trump would do more against Beijing, but that's all we can see now. And we also mentioned that what Trump has done to Canada and Mexico is more like a, how should we put it, manufacturer laundry. saying that a number of Chinese companies are using Canada and Mexico as their producing bases, and to import their goods or to export their goods to the United States and without any tariffs. So Trump thinks that's bad. And then what worries Beijing is the talk about the possible cancellation of the PNTR, so-called the permanent normal trade relations with Beijing. And should that be denied, Beijing will probably be facing a tariff of 40% up, not to mention the tariffs ceiling of 20%, additional 20%. And then the latest controversies have to do with the issue over Greenland, Panama Canal ports, and even Canada itself. In Beijing's eyes, all these are well, Trump may be thinking that, oh, I'm just beating around the bush. I'm not really doing anything against you. But in Beijing's eyes, it's a totally different story. They think that Trump is actually cutting their hands all around the world and try to isolate or even suffocate Beijing in Trump's efforts. Not to mention that Trump's possible help for Taiwan, diplomatically and even militarily. So the question is, how should what has Beijing done in response to Trump's challenge, if we put it that way? It's fair to say that Beijing hasn't done very much in response, because they are still watching with much caution of what Trump might do in the near future. So they're still contemplating on that. The first thing that we notice is that Beijing has imposed a retaliatory tariffs against some American goods. But as I see it, it's kind of symbolic. It's not the real thing. The real thing is yet to come, and see what Trump would do to China first, and that's the first thing. Second thing is the quarrel over the selling of Panama Canal ports. Now, Communist China has officially come forward to bar or to prevent Sir Ka-Shing Lee, the owner of the CK Hutchison Holdings, from selling 45 ports spreading over 23 countries, especially including the 2 ports over the Panama Canal, to the northern part and to the southern part, to the Wall Street company, the BlackRock. And Beijing calls it what they call it? They call it a betrayal of the Chinese people's feeling, and some even call it a treason, an act of treason. We're not sure what would happen, but that means they're very serious about it. They are very, how should we put it? They're very, very upset about this deal, and saying that you're leading a hand to help the United States to build up its military stronghold against China, and that's bad. So that's serious. But in addition to that, we have seen some moves on the part of Beijing. They tried to divide the relations between the United States and European countries, United States and Japan, United States and Canada, and Mexico, and even Danish Greenland, and so on and so forth. And we anticipate that Communist China, will try to strengthen its relations with Moscow, with Russia, by holding more military exercises, or try to even help Russia to fight or to prolong the war in Ukraine, and so on and so forth. Because they are concerned that Trump may adopt a so-called reversed Nixon card, reverse Nixon tactics. He tries to align with Russia and to counteract Beijing, and that's what really worries them. And only very recently that Beijing has invited both Japan and South Korea to hold a meeting. Now, actually, the meeting was held in Seoul, South Korea. They talked about how to speed up the signing of their FTA, the free trade agreement, among the three, and try to build up a stronger or robuster supply chain in order to deal with the so-called reciprocal tariff issued by Trump in the future. So that's a very direct result. That can be seen as an act taken by Beijing to respond to Trump's possible action. And then next thing they would do, Beijing would do, is try to urge or try to even try to agitate North Korea, Pyongyang, to launch more missiles against South Korea or against Japan or toward that general direction, and to have some tests over nuclear weapons, or even start a small-scale military skirmish against South Korea, and so on and so forth. So all these are the cards that Beijing can play against Trump and against the United States. And the most important card is, of course, the Taiwan card, as we mentioned before. Actually, we mentioned it over and over. Actually, when I was on my way to the studio, I just read the news. They already started it without issuing any warning. They started their so-called military exercise against Taiwan. They gathered a number of warships and jet fighters and bombers, and then they have this military drill or exercise nearby Taiwan. And then they said it very clearly. It's against Taiwan and the so-called a rollback of the Taiwan Independence Force. But actually, like I said, it's just a sheer excuse they use, and to them, it's a convenient excuse to use. So as we mentioned before, this so-called anti-Taiwan independence or opposition to Taiwan independence is a very useful card on Beijing's part. They may upgrade it in the future when times comes, or when pressure from Trump is getting higher and higher. They'll do it. They'll upgrade it. They've been using this Taiwan card, the so-called anti-Taiwan independence card, in many different ways. Recently, they just started a new thing. They call it the JCRP. The full title is Joint Combat Readiness Patrol, surrounding Taiwan, and try to intimidate Taiwan, but actually using Taiwan or using so-called anti-Taiwan independence as a card to play this card against the United States. First is to divert the United States' attention, and then try to create some cards in their own hands just to deal with Trump. Should Trump increase his pressure against Beijing, either militarily or even commercially, whatever it may be. So as we see it, Beijing is very much worried about Trump's possible action toward them. So they're making all kinds of preparation for it, and they are psychologically prepared for this. And well, we'll see a lot more coming, because the confrontation, or at least the competition between Washington and Beijing seems to be inevitable. It's already on the horizon, and we can almost see it. Well, I think that's all I want to share with you today. I hope you liked today's program. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and then share it with our friends, and then click the icon bell, and then you'll get a simultaneous notification when we have a new program on. And that's all I want to share with you today. I'll see you next time.